flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The school board will convene to a closed session tonight to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility under Wisconsin statutes 19.85 and 1.c. Middle school assistant boys basketball coach and post-employment benefit insurance. So we will begin with a presentation from Mr. Phillips on business information and technology information and his robotics program.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I didn't put a PowerPoint together, which I'm probably surprised this one. I just thought I would keep it simple and try to get.
No, robot was going to come in and start talking.
Thanks, Dave.
My name is Hal.
Your PowerPoints are so entertaining, those ones that you did during COVID where you were like in costumes and...
Well, I do have a little video, but it's not possible. Got one more sheet. They got handouts tonight. We're not going to go through all this. What's that? Mr. Hager likes papers. So I guess I'm supposed to go through the classes I teach and talk about them a little bit. That's my understanding. I am basically, my main charge here is business education and information technology, which means business courses plus some computer and technology type courses. So I kind of broke this down into my business courses here at the top, and then I've got another section here with mainly my information technology courses, and then at the bottom my robotics stuff, and I'll kind of talk about that separately at the end. Okay, so first of all, probably one of the main courses I teach, probably one of the most important, and probably the course that's probably the most fun for me is Business Life Skills, which is a required class for all seniors here at Sevastopol. It's primarily a personal finance class, but part of personal finance is choosing what kind of career you want to go into, how much money you're going to make, and how you're going to get to school and pay for it and all that stuff. In addition to that, employability skills, writing resume, cover letter, interviewing, and that sort of thing are also kind of rolled into that course. On the other sheet that I passed out, this other one, the one without the yellow on it. So if you look at the one without the yellow, this one is actually kind of a little curriculum map of my business life skills course. I didn't want to go through everything that I talk about business life skills. We do talk about quite a bit, but basically you kind of see Unit 1, I already kind of summarized that, right? We talked about the career and education and that kind of thing. Employability skills is that second piece. And then in Unit 3, the personal finance, there's a lot of things in personal finance to try to cover, and there's not enough time to really cover everything that really needs to be covered at this stage of the game. We are lucky that Sevastopol has a required class in personal finance because a large amount of the students in this country do not get personal finance in high school at all. It's like 15% or less of all students in the nation, so that's they get something here at least, which is good. It's better than nothing. But you can kind of see the things that I talked about there. The introductory to finance is basically a lot of terms. I would say that is probably one of the things that students struggle with the most, is that finance has its own language, and if you're only going to learn finance for 8 weeks, there's a lot of terms coming at you quickly that are kind of complicated, and a lot of subjects and topics that are kind of up here. So we do spend a little bit of time just kind of breaking the ice and learning that kind of thing at the beginning, so we can actually have a conversation later on about some of these other topics. The things I try to focus on are the things that they're going to experience in the next 5 years or so, because I could spend a lot of time talking about buying a house, but most students aren't buying a house in 5 years after they graduate from high school. So retirement accounts is important, starting young, more emphasis on personal savings nowadays and doing your own retirement. So We do talk about that, plus lots of different concepts, especially with taxes that are kind of involved in there. Debit and credit cards. Credit cards pervade the entire class. We're talking about that constantly. I've already talked about that in there. Bankruptcy, you know, credit scores, how to have a good credit score. What happens if you don't have a good credit score? Right? Borrowing money, we kind of talk about that through here, budgeting, taxes. Then we talk about being a wise consumer. The main things that we have time for in here yet would be like renting and buying a car and those types of things. So those are the things that we pretty much talk about in business life skills. Okay?
You're talking all about taxes and public funding and that sort of thing?
Not
much.
Well, we do talk about like the mill rate and kind of where,
Okay.
yeah, property taxes and where money for schools and that sort of thing come from. Sure. And the different types of taxes. There's a lot of different types of taxes.
Yes, sir.
So that's another thing to kind of talk about. There's an endless amount of things we can go off on tangents on in that class, essentially. Any other questions about business life skills?
And how often does that class meet?
That is a one semester class we meet every day. And we usually have it in the fall so that students are prepared for college and all that stuff. And this Mouth Corps does some scholarship stuff. I talk about FAFSA in there, talk about college and all that kind of thing. I also have the military come and talk to students as well. So kind of give them all the opportunities. Yep.
So, I serve in another role, I serve on the NWTC board, okay? So these topics that you're talking about, can you explain to me why we still continue to see a decline in enrollment? And we have the ability to teach these young people skills that will, they can walk out of there making, with very little debt, and walk into jobs making a large amount of money. We just had our board meeting in the section where all the robots are making this stuff and all that, you know. And all that huge equipment, expensive equipment needs really skilled people to work at it. And the higher complication of the equipment, more increase you get in payment because an employer's not going to let somebody who doesn't know what they're doing work with this $3 million robot.
Well, building off what you just said, one of the presentations I just gave this last week to my class talks about the different ways you can become a registered nurse and all the different paths that you could take and how much the different costs are related to that. The cost at NWTC is $14,000 for the entire 2-year program. Well, you can go to Marquette and get an RN degree, and it'll cost you over $250,000. And then I talk about different options, you know, doing a 2-year first, go to gen ed, go to NWTC through gen eds. If you can, stay at home if you can, the UW college system. Besides the 13 baccalaureate campuses, there's also 13 freshman and sophomore colleges as well. That's how I got my start. So I try to talk about all those different options for students so they have different, and how good NWTC is. Both my kids go to NWTC, so if I had to do it all over again, I don't know.
Now, is this something that you think that should be taught earlier than seniors?
I don't think so. I don't think so earlier because that is something that happens at other schools and students don't really care. I mean, we talk to them every year about academic career planning and have them look at what they want to do for a living and after college or after high school, and none of them really take it serious. But they take it serious in my class because they know a year from now it's going to be for real. And I tell them, this is the last time we have this chance. So it means a lot more to them. I think, in my personal opinion. You know, when you're learning about renting and you're a junior in high school and your parents are paying all your bills, it doesn't seem to make as much. It's not as big of an impact. If anything with this class, it could be a longer class. But I don't know if we have, it's a small school, so maybe everything. But, yeah. Any other questions?
The other thing with the nursing, just so you know, third year, it's like they go get their 2-year nursing degree at WTC and then go work as a nurse in a facility. Their new employer will pay their tuition to go on their bachelor's.
That's a great point. I have to tell my class that. That's a good point. Good answer. But they would still have to get their gen eds in somewhere though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Anything else? So the other class that I teach is kind of related to that one is, it's a CAP class. So if you're not familiar with CAP classes, they are classes that are doing enrollment. We do CAP with UW Oshkosh, so basically when the students are taking a CAP class with us, they are enrolled in UW Oshkosh. And to be a teacher, to teach a CAP course, you have to have a master's degree, you gotta be qualified, you gotta have all these credentials in order to do it. And some teachers have to go through an extra, gotta go do a program that they have to do before they can actually teach a course. I luckily already had my master's degree, so it was easy for me to do the CAP course. But it's a great opportunity for students. It's a personal finance class, so it's a full-blown college personal finance class. It's not career exploration, and it's not employability skills and all that stuff. It's heavy-duty stocks, bonds, mutual funds. It's a pretty heavy-duty course. Students usually take along with my business life skills course, and then I assign them extra content that's not covered in business life skills out of the book. That is the same book that you use at UW Oshkosh, and then they take extra quizzes and do extra assignments to earn their college credit along with everyone else. So that's kind of how we do the CAP course. And then they earn 3 credits, and they only have to pay $300, or it's only $150, I think, if they have free and reduced lunch for a 3-credit UW class that can pretty much go anywhere. It's a good deal. Any questions about that class? That class is honestly, students struggle with that class. That's all that terminology and everything I was talking about, but at a college level.
And how many kids typically do the CAP?
I had a full class of it once, and then it went down a little bit. Now I've only got a couple that are actually taking the personal finance. The thing with the personal finance is an elective, so some students don't see it as important, I guess, as a transfer credit, but it depends on the students every year and what they deem important and what the other kids say about it. That's what really matters. But personally, I like to, if students ask me, I say I really like business life skills. I think CAP is good, but honestly, I honestly think the personal finance class is a little bit heavy duty for high school students at this point. The business life skills, I've been working on it for so long, it's in pretty good shape. So, I don't know. I think they're in good hands either way. For accounting, so accounting 1 and 2, this is actually should be, accounting here used to be a 1-year class. In most schools, it's a 1-year class. Mr. Mayor, a couple years ago, wanted me to split it up. So we've been teaching it as a 2-year class, 1 semester a year, and that kind of works, but students sometimes don't take the 2nd year. But I guess it's okay because I get more kids that get to experience accounting, because if it's a year course and it butts up against other classes that students need, and I might not get as many kids taking accounting even half a year if they have to take it for a whole year. I don't know if that makes sense, but that was kind of Mr. Baer's reasoning, and it kind of makes sense. But this course is an NWTC course. I had to change the course from what I had before. I had to adopt the textbook that NWTC uses. I had to go through a training and all that regular, just making sure I meet the requirements. Had to do a summer thing. But now we do that with the students. If the students complete both R1 and 2, so they took 2 years, 2 semesters of accounting, then they would be able to get out of accounting 1 at NWTC with that. So that's a dual enrollment. And we use the exact same book they do. I model my assignments after the assignments that she had given us, or showed us her syllabus, so I use some of the same that she uses and all that. So, any questions about the accounting? Okay. Then, from there, there's, the 2 good important classes I think are Intro to Business and Marketing. Intro to Business is a class, it's kind of a survey class. I try to talk about different fields in business, so if someone's interested in business, they get kind of experience with a lot of these different types of fields, because there's lots of different fields in business. Some of the ones that I have here that we do talk about a lot. Well, we do spend a lot of time in economics, and then we talk about entrepreneurship, because there's a lot of topics that we can talk about that. Lots about stock and market, lots of management, leadership type talking, production operations, human resources, finance, and those types of topics in there. And then we usually do a business plan in there. We create our own business, and then they create the business plan according to their what they're doing, and we add to that as we go through the course. And then we do spend a lot of time talking about current events and news articles and things like that that are going on right now.
Have you run any of that stuff in conjunction with the DCECs? Work on economic development corporations? Thing that they have for the,
You know, I used to, but they were supposed to do a $500 business plan with me, but then they never came through. So I
I didn't know.
I said no with that. That was back when I first started, though. That was a long time ago. That was like 16 years ago, so. Water under the bridge now, but I wouldn't want to know. Yeah, so that's intro to business. And then marketing. Marketing, there's a lot of jobs in marketing. All sales jobs are marketing related. There's all kinds of, real estate, and there's all kinds. Marketing is like one of the best jobs for transferability of skills. Be able to find different jobs with your skill set. So it's a really kind of a fun class, and it kind of a way for students to kind of experience a business course that's not just all numbers and like accounting. And, it's a little bit more fun, a little more creative. We do lots of fun projects. It's a little bit different side of business than I think students usually see. And most schools have marketing, in their business department. As a matter of fact, I'm marketing certified. I could teach a whole plethora of marketing classes. When I went through and taught, they had 7 marketing teachers at Lloyd when I was taught there. So, it could be a whole big department. But anyway, any other questions about that? That's basically my business courses in a nutshell. So then, from there, most of my information technology, I would say the breadth of it is in the middle school. The issue that we have here is if we try to offer like Microsoft Office, see what I want to do, NWTC, Microsoft Office dual enrollment, they want me to teach Word for like an entire year. Something like that. It's like they want a lot of hours to get certified in Microsoft Word. And no students here at Sevastopol, with all the classes that they have, are going to take that much Microsoft Office. So what we've done is we do all that in the middle school. So I do a lot of that during the middle school. In 6th grade is mainly keyboarding. We dabble in keyboarding in elementary, but I really teach them key in 6th grade. That's where I get out the covers, and it's high intensity, daily practice. And I've gone back to using the book because I find it works better. So a lot of keyboarding. And then I dabble with some computer programming topics and logical thinking with a couple different apps that I have in there. We do some email etiquette, and we do some internet safety and stuff like that with the 6th grade. And then when I get them in 7th grade, then it's more about, we're not going to use anything in this class except for the PC, because a lot of students haven't touched a PC unless they have one at home by 7th grade nowadays, because they're using Macs and iPads and their phone all the time. So I teach them how to save a document, because with Google you don't have to save documents. So most of them have a real struggle with that and trying to navigate the Windows file management system and open a file from the server, and move a file from the server to the desktop, and those types of things. So I spend a lot of time kind of just, the X closes the window, and the big square makes it maximize and that kind of thing. Keyboard shortcuts and all that stuff. Kids don't know that stuff nowadays as much. And then I move into Microsoft Office, specifically Word, Excel, and PowerPoint as much as I can. And then I get into Adobe products a little bit, do some Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, and finish off with Premiere Pro, which is video editing. So we spend video editing at the end. They'll need some of that skills when they get into high school. Yearbook uses InDesign. Newspaper uses InDesign. Premiere Pro, they use it for the, they don't use Premiere Pro now. They're using it for
Depends who's doing it. One year they did, other years
so
they used
sometimes
Final
they use
Cut.
Premiere Pro for doing the Pioneer newscast, Pioneer News. Sometimes they use.
Middle school is the only place that programs are offered, computer programs are taught.
Like computer apps? Yeah. Like Microsoft Office and all these. Well, they do graphic arts. There's a graphic arts in high school, so they can do more Adobe products. But yeah, that's it for Microsoft Office is in 7th grade. That's the only time I get them. Yeah, I know. But it's hard to get them to take it in high school because their freshman and sophomore years are 4, except for one extra elective if they're in band. So then that gives them your junior, senior year. In senior year, we got a lot of kids going out for youth apprenticeship now and leaving and graduating early. So that means I've got them junior year and senior year when they have a lot of electives, they're not here. Or they're trying to get out.
That's their only introduction to documents.
Yep. Other than doing Google Docs in their English classes and social studies and stuff, yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
They were off this to old retired parts.
What's that?
They were off this to old retired.
We used to do some community core stuff.
Yeah, you did, I took your class.
Yeah, we used to do some community core, community core
Sign up,
stuff.
Jerry.
Is there anything we're missing, Dave, in the way of offerings on information technology? Are kids coming back, graduates and saying,
I've had several students go on. I don't think we are really missing that much. It would be nice to have a little bit more of the Microsoft Office stuff in high school, but, in information technology, we don't have a computer science department here. So I try to patch that in a little bit with some of my stuff. That's why I have this intro to computer science and my intro to video game design class, because I'm not qualified, honestly, to teach a full-blown computer science class, because that's 85% programming, and I'm not even close to being there. But, yeah. If we're missing anything, if ever we're missing anything, I would say it'd be like programming, but you'd have to have another teacher here to do that. I don't know if it's worth that. So I don't know. I'd put that down. But I don't know, otherwise, information technology, I'm sure I could think of some things, but, yeah.
Programming is a good one if we ever had an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because most of your STEM classes, you're going to have programming at your next step.
Mhm.
So if this would help them.
Yeah, I do a little
class,
programming.
We have limitations too, I understand.
Do a little programming, but, what I can teach them is, just get them started, get them some introductory, see if they like it or not. That's how I do that. So I would just like to say, the video game design class, may sound like it's just kind of a class where we sit around and play games all the time, but that's not completely true, right? Actually, this video game design class is actually pretty challenging. I don't know how you feel about games and video games and all that stuff, but honestly, video games are a big driver of computer technology and development of computer programming languages and all that kind of thing. So this is more of a class where I'm trying to get students interested in this kind of thing. If I just straight up offered a class in programming, I don't know that we would get anybody to take it. It takes a special person. We have a cadence come through once every 3 or 4 years that might be interested in a class like that. But a video game class, we can maybe get some kids to take that class and maybe get interested and go on. I've had some students have gone on to become programmers that have been through my classes, so I feel like we're doing something right. And I used to do a web technologies classes, which did some HTML coding and that kind of thing, but nowadays that's not as important because everyone's using builders and building apps, so. Yeah, that's about it for the business and information technology courses. Any questions on any of that? So that's all under my licensure, all this stuff, right? So this other stuff here is under technology education. Just I didn't go out and seek out robotics. About 5 years ago, I was approached because we were going to get some money for the technology department, and people were giving us money, wanted some money to go towards robotics. So I was approached and asked if I would be interested in helping with that. And it sounded kind of interesting. I was kind of interested in that kind of stuff. I didn't really know anything about it, but I thought I'd try to check it out. So I did kind of go with it. I was given a little bit of money by Mr. Baird, and then we actually enrolled in a competition and got a robotics thing, and we went to a challenge about 5 years ago. But over the last 5 years, we've been building and kind of adding and writing grants and getting more money, building a hybrid club for a few years. But ultimately, we got an industrial robot, a FANUC industrial robot, which is a certification card that is actually just in the room off of my room down there. And that certification card, we can actually certify students. So I had to go through a process of getting certified, which took a while. It was actually pretty difficult. Glad I got that over because that was hard. But now that it's done and I'm certified, I was able to get dual enrollment. I can't do dual enrollment with NWTC because I'm not technology education certified. But we can do the advanced standing, which means they can take the course with me, internal robotics, and get certified on this card. By passing my class, see or better, they get out and take the internal robotics at NWTC or any tech school basically in the state. The only thing the dual enrollment really helps them is if they do go to a tech school out of Wisconsin. Then they wouldn't be able to transfer that credit. That's the only difference really. As long as they have the advanced standing and they go to any tech school basically in the state, that internal robotics will be with them. So, and then I know I still do my robotics club, doing that during the winter time. I try to have middle school and high school in there because the middle school oversees the robots and they kind of want to play with them. So we do little mini challenges. We kind of do that over the winter time when it's cold. We do it outside. And that's been kind of my feed-in program. I wanted to show you the industrial robot because I know it might be hard to picture that. So rather than push that big thing down here, I have a video that I made a couple years ago that was kind of introducing the course. So I did make it for this audience, okay? But I think, I'm not going to show the whole thing, but I just see the first part of it will kind of let you see what the robots kind of look like and kind of what they can do. And then it also kind of follows another tech school or another school that brought certification cards in and kind of what they've been doing with them. So you kind of see what that's all about. And I think you'll have a better idea of what's going on down here. So I did the quality may not be the best because I downsized it quite a bit. That's okay.
And don't forget to unmute Dave.
And can I get sound?
Your computer's muted.
Oh, no, it's not.
Your system was.
Technologies, concepts from science. Hi everyone. Mrs. Malcor asked me to put together a video to explain my new robot class. If there was one thing I had to say about why you would want to take a robot class is that building a robot involves lots of different technologies, concepts from science, math, computer science, electrical and mechanical engineering.
So every time you see these yellow robots use the same controller that we have in our certification card. So whether it's the one that can hold a car or it's one that sits on a table, they use the same controller, they use the same programming language. And so they can certify and do everything on that cert card that you could do in a real factory.
We work with a lot of FANUC robots actually, and I got about 15 of them on my project right now. It's
Cool.
Really just a smorgasbord of different high-tech skills working together. So enough about why we would want to take a class in robotics. What will we be doing? First, I'd like to build some robots out of the kits that I already have in class, and I'd also like to build some homemade drones so that you know how to do that. I'd also like to take a field trip to the state robotics competition, and I'd also like to take a field trip to a factory where we can see some real industrial robots in action. You may have noticed some construction around the school. One of the things that they're building is a brand new state-of-the-art technical education lab. We're going to have a lot of new machines in there and it's going to be awesome. One of the first things that we're going to get is a new robot. This robot's going to be mounted to a certification cart and we'll actually be able to have students get certified as FANUC robot controllers, which is actually a pretty big deal. Now I know FANUC sounds a little funny, but I'll tell you, it's the largest company that you've never heard of. Until now.
FANUC is number one in manufacturing robots, especially the 6-axis like what we have. Absolutely is number one.
that are in over 600 classrooms all around the country. The Branch Area Career Center got their FANUC robots about 3 years ago.
The program is a one-semester course that allows students to learn about FANUC robotics, automation, and programming.
The program teaches its students all about robotic safety practices and terminology. But most importantly, they get hands-on training using industry-standard equipment.
The trainings prepared me by giving me basic knowledge of FANUC robots and also certification in FANUC. So that'll be something I'll be able to use all throughout my future.
It's just a great program. I highly recommend it. I've learned so much, and my future is set because of it.
We really appreciate the partnership with FANUC Robotics. It allows our students to gain some great education and some real-world experience with technology that's used out in industry.
That's what our industrial problems like, and that kind of thing down there. So, any other questions? That's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, that was excellent. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I got a call today just about one of your last students about financial aid, in fact.
Really?
Just before I walked in here. I can't answer the question, so I sent her the financial aid.
That's great.
All right, thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Can I ask, do we have any guests registered to? No. Carl, no. Okay, no. Comments? Are there any items someone wishes to remove from the consent agenda? If there are not, the consent agenda is approved by consent with donations from Steve and Tammy Estes for the Eco Lab of $4,167 and $5,000 for the Phase 2 athletic field project. We'll move to the administrative reports. Mr. Schaefer.
Well, thank you. I didn't know if I had to do double duty for Eric, but I'll keep it short. I'll just do my own. But
Well, if you're doing Mr. Hills, that's good.
no, I was just joking. But I think a couple of normally I know I only pick one, but just a few things. I'd like to touch on a few. But at our school, we went through and we elected our student council officers, which I thought our teachers did a great job. Our advisors led and established effective leaders for that to engage and have students within our student council to do some great things for our school. Restorative practices. I'm not stealing that from you. No. Okay. But we did restorative practices early in the year when we were doing our professional development. And I think the really cool thing is how many teachers came up to me afterwards to say that they felt like they have a toolbox of ideas for their classroom to improve in their ability to connect with our students and to have a classroom management strategy that will allow them to focus on the whole child. So I thought that was really great. And Marcy from CISA 7 will be coming back this next week to do a follow-up lesson. So it's really good because when you put out a new initiative for teachers, often in education we put out something and we don't revisit it. And that's what I really like about what we're doing here. We're not only putting it out there, we're making it constantly visible for the teachers and talking about the importance of our restorative practices. And I think it's been really cool too because some of our students who maybe have had some behavioral mistakes or had some issues, we started doing some restorative justice instead of it being punitive. We talk a little bit about the importance of restoring, using restorative justice for students to have an accountability to people in their classroom or school, and it just really promotes a more positive experience when something maybe negative happens. So I'm really proud of that. And, so next week we'll be doing that. And then probably what I'm most pumped about is we're starting next week, Character Strong. Sorry, not next week. Character Strong will be going in the first week in October. Met with both middle school and high school staff about starting that up on our first lessons and assisting our students with great character development. So I am absolutely excited about that when we talk about culture and developing the whole child. I really love this program. It's working from within. So I'm really excited about that.
Is that a separate class or is that something that's...
So
in each classroom?
Yeah, so what's going to happen is Character Strong is a social emotional learning curriculum, so it aligns with our restorative practices, which we're incorporating. So they really mirror each other very well. They have common language, which I think is really helpful, not only for our teachers, but our students as they are hearing those common language terms. But teachers will, during their resource time at the high school level, anyways, resource time will devote one lesson a week. So high school has 25 lessons for the year, middle school has 35 lessons. So with middle school, we had to be a little bit trickier with the scheduling. So we are, so the first week we do it, that'll be a first hour class, and then the second week, they'll be doing it in their second hour class and so forth throughout the schedule. But it's just a great opportunity for helping students identify value. You know, where do we find our value? Do we find value on the clothes that we wear, or status, or are we finding value intrinsically with who we are as people? And I think this is going to be really important because it creates a really safe space for students to reflect, talk about things, assist with one another, and ultimately, if effectively implemented, I think you're just going to see a stronger result of student relationship with one another and understanding. So I'm really excited about this program.
Great. Mr. Hiltz is at Choose for Tomorrow. Him. Report, then we'll move to this.
I handed out a last-minute sheet, and that's really what I wanted to highlight. And I did a little bit of I talked a little bit about it in my board report. But every 5 years, we survey our families and guardians of students who receive special education services. And the overarching, what I really want to say is that I'm really recognizing and celebrating the special education staff and related services. So that's speech and language, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. Overall, our survey results definitely improved. And that's really wonderful. And a couple of things that's wonderful about it is that we've had more families participate, so the more that we engage our families, the more information we learn how to improve our programming. So it's really wonderful to see our numbers go up. There's a lot of, we really try and promote the survey as much as we can. So all of the hard work that we did this year to promote it definitely was effective. However, we don't stop, right? We learned what worked and we're just going to keep going. So it's wonderful. So what I provided here for you just very quickly is just a couple of the areas where we improved from the past 5 years. But we're always looking for better improvements. So I also added a couple of areas where, hey, we still have to work on that. So that's for you to take a look at, but I'm really proud of the Pupil Services staff. What this means is they are fostering and maintaining really positive relationships with their parents. And then most importantly, I want to thank the parents who are participating because we do listen and we do learn how to improve our programming from our stakeholders. So it's wonderful to keep hearing from them. And now that I can say it too, I just really want our parents to know that we do listen and we want to listen more. So I'm excited about it. At the very end of this, and I'm going to finish really quickly, the very end of it is continuous improvement and action steps. So I listed 3 of those there for you to take a look at. One of the big things that we always want to make sure that we're doing is talking in a language that our parents do understand. And also inviting more information about how they are helping their own child at home, because that's where that true partnership really is established. We're listening to what they're doing, and we're trying to bring that back into the school as well. And just sharing that information is really important. And then always consistently educating our parents and guardians about what are the community supports that are out there that can also assist in different areas where they might need some advice or some help. So I'm really excited. I will celebrate with the staff. I have something planned, but I'm not telling them what that is yet. So there you go. Any questions? Thank you.
Does anybody have questions on the AD or G&T report that they want to direct? All questions? The superintendent then.
I gave you a couple of enrollment sheets. One has got a list of our grade levels, 4K through 12, all 14. You can see what the breakdown is per grade level. And then the second sheet gives you our current high school enrollment of 180, and the middle school is at 157. And then you can see how that's going to play out over the next 6 years beyond this year. So in 28-29, we'll have 167 high schoolers based on the enrollments on the first sheet. However, you got to remember that in high school, we always pick up 2 to 4 parochials and private school children from either Zion or St. Peter or St. John Bosco. And so that number will go up a little bit. So if you got 8 or 16 more, then we're about steady in the high school at the 180 mark. We do hit a high water mark at 215 in the 2015 year because we have that class of 63 in the 8th grade, which is our largest class. And then the middle school, when that large class of 63 moves on, we'll have a reduction of a few over the years. And so in 2029, we'll have 110 middle schoolers in our school there. The reason this is important is because as we start building next year's schedule and our staffing needs, we'll look at the numbers we have per section, what our students are, and the admin team's already discussing staffing needs for next year and course offerings and how we want to revamp the schedule a little bit. We have 11 staff members that are shared between the high school, middle school, or 12. And when you share staff like that, right now our high school schedule kind of dictates the middle school and elementary, and that's not the best system we have. So we're looking at that already and how to revamp that for next year to make it so we can use our staff the most efficient possible for the number of students we have. The only concerning number I have is the 4K number at 23. We do always have a tick up from 4K to 5K because some parents don't feel that their child is ready for 4K and they hold them up until 5K. And then as we go, we pick up a few in middle school and we always pick them up when they get to high school. But that's a number that's lower than any other number we have on our sheet there by quite a significant number, by 7 compared to second grade. So yeah, so we're going to keep working on 23, 24 already.
Anything else?
And we're already kicking around next year's calendar already because this week is homecoming. We know the students are on Friday for the in-service, and the 5th graders are treats tomorrow. So right now, we've got homecoming set for next year. On the Treats Tomorrow trip, they will come back with the dates for next year's trip, and then we'll set the in-service so that those 3 events don't align next year. And the start of school, the recommendation will be the day after Labor Day, September 5th, because the 1st is a Friday. 1st is the first day you can legally have school in Wisconsin, and it's not wise to come for one day and then go home. So that's as far as we're looking at the calendar so far. But yeah, that's what I got for water.
I'm just going to mention, there was an artist that painted a portrait of Mr. Carl Schultz, and the family donated it to the school. We felt, okay, we'll hang it in here because this is the Carl Schultz Pioneer Room, and thought that was a good place for it. On the back, we don't have it ready yet, but on the back, there will be a list of his various accomplishments and contributions to the school district. So 15 years from now, when somebody says, who is this old guy? They'll see maybe why he's hanging there. And then, sounds kind of early, but in September of 2024, Sevastopol will celebrate its 100th anniversary. The school district will celebrate its 100th anniversary. So I have a few people for a kind of a preliminary planning committee that have agreed to work on this. Mike Madden, longtime Sevastopol person, Marcia Schultz, Marcia Lynn will kind of bring her father's knowledge to us. Joe McMahon was superintendent from about 1991 to 2005 or 6, and he would have been here when we celebrated the 75th anniversary, so we'll have that. And Minnie Vanderhoof is going to do a book, a yearbook or something. So so we're just going to be looking for a date to have initial meeting just to kick around a lot of ideas, but there'll be a lot of opportunity for board members or community in the future to kind of join subcommittees for various
Did you contact Linda?
things. Yes, well, yes, Linda, and Linda's working on the Vanderhoof book thing.
Like a book that would be available for sale for the 100-year thing or something like that?
We have them for
Well,
75.
when they did them for 75,
That's a neat idea.
they were for sale. You know, they weren't, I think they were $25 then, and now yours are $50, so I don't know what it will be. But anyway,
I think
it's 100 years is some important thing, and it's important to write the history and property building.
It does give you an opportunity to blow your own horn. It's going to help you raise your 23 number up or higher number.
You just got kids at the right age up there. You can't 2 years from now produce a 5-year-old.
No, but it does give you an opportunity to blow your horn so people in other districts will think about, this is really a great place. And maybe that's where we should send Billy or Susie. Just think, I mean,
There could be a lot of arms to that
right.
celebration, commemoration, or whatever we want to call it. So that initial committee will be looking for those ideas from people and people that want to join and help with those things, all those. Maybe we have fireworks.
Yeah, right. That'll be the day when you send your permit.
Okay, property, buildings, and grounds. That the 29th of August, a long time ago.
Did Jeff or Dave on top of me?
Well, we talked, I mean, the greenhouse situation kind of occupied some of the time, or a lot of the time. But we talked about, one thing was the replacement of electronic sign out in front. Yeah, I guess it's old technology that costs more to repair than a new sign. So, you know, kind of wish list, we'd like to put a new electronic sign out. We talked about where we would put it, and we looked at, Jeff said, how about a marquee sign above the overhang? But, the new edition, the 1991 edition, kind of shadows that. But the other place we thought was out by the road. We have 2 islands in the parking area, and Kyle, was it planning department?
No, I contacted the sign company that, I've been in contact with the planning department.
Yeah. And planning department sent you a very short
Email saying no. They didn't like the design, and so the sign company said, well, what could give variance or what would be acceptable, and they've gotten no response back yet. Because the sign we currently have doesn't work, but even if it did, it's facing the same way as the road, so when you drive by, you can't read it, because you're supposed to be paying attention to your driving, so you don't see it. So we wanted to have one like the town hall has, that's perpendicular to the road and 2-sided, and how they can have one just there, we can't get variance over here, I'm not sure, but it's kind of interesting. Because we want the same kind of sign, same footage off the road, we want to mirror theirs. We're told you can't have variance, so.
That's where that is.
Yeah.
Did they realize there's one like it next door?
They should be aware of it, yes. Yes.
But they didn't give a reason why, no?
It may be the distance to the right of way.
Good morning, we won't be able to permit this. Sarah.
Period.
Oh,
And so then the response back from Mark Miller is, I understand you can issue a sign permit for a signed electronic message center per code. What can we do to get this approved? Is there a sign variance? Attach the photo with some ideas, blah, blah. We got no response back. That was the 20th of September. So we'll keep kicking at it.
What organization was that again?
the Door County Planning and
County
Zoning.
planning and zoning.
We have more power than,
God.
Sometimes. So
We'll keep working on it.
100%.
It's a project, but if you talk to the FFA alumni members and they're wondering about the sign, we're trying.
Tell me why we'll build a condominium out there with a parking lot, see what happens.
Yeah. But anyhow, signs are, electronic signs are pricey. Yeah, we're talking significant dollars, so. I guess we talked a little bit about the phase 2 of the athletic project, and hopefully Friday, everybody will see the fruits of all the efforts that went into that.
The building inspector is out today. Myron's going to talk to him again tomorrow to see if we can get temporary occupancy, because we don't have occupancy because it's not completely done yet. The stainless steel countertops are in back order, which stops the roll down window doors to be installed, because they won't install them until the right countertops are in, so getting our permanent occupancy is not possible. The partitions are up in one of the bathrooms tomorrow, they're putting the other ones up. Light sockets went in today. The fence is supposed to be completed today. I don't know, tomorrow's a big day to see if we get temporary occupancy. We should, is what Myron was saying today. And they're working on it. So.
And the new playground is pretty impressive, for those of you who might have seen it. Playgrounds are really coming along.
And that was funded with some fund, $46. Raybrook grant, which we can't say how much Raybrook gives. We had a couple other donations. And then the furnishings from the 1924 and 46 section, we sold those, we put that in the playground fund. So we've got multiple sources of income for that project.
Anything else? Did you guys talk about the Pioneer Way sign at all? Because it's really that shape.
We did not talk about Pioneer Way sign.
Well, take a look at it when you drive through, and
There's
Cody-
two of
Cody-
them out there now. There's one Cody built, and then there's one above the stop sign.
well, the one that Cody, built, right, is always, it's peeling. And if he's gonna repaint it for us every couple of years, great, but if he's not, then maybe we're better off to look into one of those routed artificial material signs. I don't know what to call them, but, because it doesn't look good. Communication committee met and established the fall newsletter, which will come out, I think, around the end of October. Talked about Mr. Kent. Mr. Kent specifically wants to do a display of artwork in the former multi-purpose room. Remember there was artwork around the perimeter of the, well, some of that has gone away, but there are certain pieces from students. Every year there's a senior student that receives the art award, and those have been framed nicely. And he's talking about this hallway back here, and I don't know if he's ever laid it out to show you how.
We just had him on the, well, yeah, hit it out briefly, but this is that. I want the communication committee to see what he has. Plan people to hang it, because it's, I don't know if he's artwork he's got, maybe 30, 35 from students over the years.
There may be. And then the question is, how far down do you go, or do you start, take the very oldest one off and give that back to the student? And they need to be, some of those are like masks in a box. Well, if they're gonna hang in the hallway, they can't have that. They have to be flat pieces.
And they're not all uniform in size and shape. Yeah, so they're different. But we're working on figuring out, the communications committee will find a way to display.
Everybody wants to hang something up, and you have to think about what gets hung. Trees for Tomorrow has these great big, you saw them, they were in the old district office, they're big pictures of the kids at Trees for Tomorrow. There must be 10 of them now. Where do you hang those? Is it, or do you have a couple hanging while they're still in elementary and middle school? So that's a discussion of the communication committee. Policy committee.
You'll see the results of our meetings later in the agenda today. We are caught up.
went on over-the-counter medication, our lawyer and our nurse are going back. They had 8 topics, and I think they're down to 4 that they got to align with. Neola would not issue one on over-the-counter prescription, over-the-counter drugs, and so they referred us to our own lawyer for that. So Mary Gerbig's colleague is working on that with our school nurse, but they keep going back and forth on that. So basically, what our school nurse would like, she'd like to have items like ibuprofen or Benadryl on hand, and if a parent signed a release and a kid had a headache and needed a couple aspirin, because right now, each parent brings in a bottle for their kid, and she's got 47 bottles of ibuprofen, and she says that's a nightmare to keep track of all of that, and then hand it back at the end of the year. She wants to have just one common bottle of 5 or 6 items like that, and Neola wouldn't do a policy like that, or the lawyer will, so every time you go over the lawyers, it's going to bounce back and forth 6, 7 times before you get it straight. So.
And Neola is going to be addressing that, but it's later, and our nurse would like to see something sooner rather than later.
She's dealing with it every day.
So Neola, the only reason they didn't do it is because they had to put some research into stuff.
Right, they have to do more work to develop a policy that they feel is legally sound.
And Neola's in multiple states, so
Yes.
We're the first school to ask for it.
Well, no, yeah.
That's the issue.
The only reason I asked, right, because we're paying them, and they said.
Right.
Mhm.
That's right.
It's coming, but because our nurse wanted it sooner,
too slow.
this was the
Okay.
approach we had.
That makes sense, so thank you.
And confer. You want to chat about that, Jeff?
We had a pretty good meet and confer. We had 5, 6,
Yeah. 5 or 6.
5. That's good. 5 people show up, so that was good. Talked about a bunch of different things, apps to get things going. Had kind of talks about 6 days, personal days, how we're going to address some of those things, or things that they would like to see on their end. Communication between the school board and then parents, and how we're sending out information to make sure everybody's getting that information. Even from the teachers, because some of the teachers weren't getting some of the information from what we understood. That was going up to the district because they weren't in the district. So, but
Like when Mr. Hills would send out his elementary materials, he would send the elementary staff, and then some high school staff members wouldn't know about it, and same vice versa for Troy. So now when Troy and parents send their stuff out, they're just going to send out district-wide K-12 and let everybody read. So if high school teachers are something that's going on at the elementary school, they can hear about it or whatever. They public, they didn't know what's going on the other end of the building. So
Some of those things that they brought forward require some financial analysis by Mr. Mookie.
there was some sick day buyouts and incentives they were looking for, which all sound great, but they all come with a cost.
So they require some financial analysis, and we probably go back. I don't know if they go back to meet and confer and come straight to the board, but maybe get back to the next meeting and confer to the people that asked about it. Full meeting yesterday.
You may want to talk to your lawyer about that too, because the feds don't allow you to, it's with vacation time, if you have a buyback. You can't, let's say you've got $1,000 worth of vacation, you can't get $1,000. You can only get like 30% of it, 90%. The rest of it goes in the net. That's a federal IRS stipulation.
Yeah, teachers only get 2 personally, so they weren't too concerned about vacation. What they were concerned about was, we have in our employee handbook, they max out at 125 sick days, and they said, well, if you already have 120 when you end the school year, we're only getting 5 new ones. Well, sick days are to get you through times when you're sick, and if you work on a 180-day year and you got 125 sick days, that's going to get you to long-term disability. But they were looking to get it to 130 and then have those extra days bought out at the end of the school, each school year.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's federal regs on they can't get it dollar for dollar.
Right.
On conversion,
Yes,
you sure it's not vacation pay?
it is vacation pay, but this is going to be done the same way.
Well, we'll let
I'm
Mr. Lukey,
just throwing a caution out there that you should check it out.
he's got,
But
he's got the
I'm
questions.
sure 125 is pretty decent. You have bank, a sick bank for 125, that should get you to your long-term
I don't
disability.
know if I agree with the line back. So,
There's situations in our district we already do. You know, like for their insurance for 3 years upon retirement. So we already do that practice. Yeah, I know what you're saying. They want to do it at the end of every year. Right. So then that could run into hundreds, which would turn into thousands of dollars annually. Sounds good on paper, but our budget's negative this year, so I can't really say, hey, let's go spend more on this item here.
We didn't try to solve any problems that need confer. We took the items and said we'll take them back for discussion, which was an attempt to try to make it more conversational than this is what we're doing. Does anybody want to comment on the goal meeting last night? I thought a lot of it was good conversation and there were some good ideas that came forward. When I took those sheets and started working on them yesterday, there's a lot of little one-offs that, yeah, we should do that. We should start advertising in the church bulletins and at the ARDC to see if we can get some, employees in certain areas. Yeah, maybe we should do the board memo. But then there are some larger things such as, I thought about what Melissa said about when we get the juniors and seniors that they come here, they aren't going to have credits to graduate. Is there some other path we can give them for employment? Or the conversation, should we have a project-based curriculum versus sit and get, or should we have science-based curriculum? Those are bigger topics. So when I'm going to break those down and I'm going to take the dots, the numbered dots, but I'm also going to break them into bigger projects and the little one-offs. So when we get back to discuss those, we can look at that. So I'll get those done within a week, and later we should probably schedule a meeting to review. I'll get that out to everybody, and then we should schedule a meeting to review that with everyone.
Yeah, I thought it was a good first step. My only caution is that times we got too operational. We got into the weeds sometimes, which we shouldn't be focused on. Get into the topics that are not day-to-day operational.
I think this is related, if I can add. I like the process, and what I would just offer, and I know we talked about it in the follow-on meeting, is we should take all that good work that we prioritize, and then the final wording that we'll have to continue to work on to bring it to goals. I think that's, we've got a little bit of work there to do to bring it to a good goal. That does provide some guidance and clarifications on how we set priorities and where we work. And that's just, each of us bring our thinking caps and try to figure out how we give guidance without, but yet giving the admin team the flexibility to go execute the details. I think that's what Jerry's saying is a goal, the good writing of a goal, and I'm not sure I know the answer to that. But I think this group could probably get there. So I thought the process was good.
35, 40 topics up there.
Yeah.
And every time we talked about one, then we started problem solving right away.
Right.
We should have stayed at the discuss it, rank it, and said we're not going to problem solve. And we kept, we're going to do that, okay. And we kind of a little bit worked out, but not fully fleshed out. And then it was, okay, we went in so many different directions and tangents, and it's like, okay, we got to get back to the focus of picking up 5 or 6 and working on them. And some of them, Keith spoke about having evaluation process or, uniform, and then you probably didn't know that our 2 principals and 2 service director use the same program, and October 20th, they're all being calibrated on. So you wouldn't know that, but that answers your question, so that one county could get removed at that point. But we went down a whole bunch of tangents and rabbit holes and stuff, so. Yeah.
So my compilation is going to do some of that.
Yeah,
It's going to take some of those out and make the important, the true goal things rise to the top.
It's good to see excitement about the topics.
I thought it was a good first step, and we'll just learn as time goes on.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, the budget report, budgets.
Well, Fund 46, there's $1.4 million. We've had a few bills now coming in Iron for the project out there, so that's going to be dropping significantly. That project's a $1.1 million project, so that'll start dropping here. Cash balance reflects $2.9 billion received from the final tax levy for last year. So those rolled in after after June, July 30th, it came in August. So, I don't know, Carl, anything else you want to? Anything exciting?
Nothing really exciting. The audit went well. They're still finishing up on it. But I think it went better this year than last year, A, because we were in our office and we didn't move 4 days before they showed up. But I didn't have as many follow-up questions as we did last year. We did, through the auditor, are putting together a itemized and listing of our assets, meaning what we have in the building, especially with the new machines in that we have in the Fab Lab, and basically items that are over $5,000 that can be depreciated, and then the building, we have the cost of the building, depreciate that. So because there is no good program out there, it's just easy, let the auditors do it, they know what they're doing, they know what they're doing as far as depreciation, and let it go that way. Obviously there's a cost to it, but I think $1,500 was the cost for what they're gonna do is more than worth it. So, because before we really did not have any kind of good system to track what we have in our assets, our major assets. So, other than that, that's right now is a major state reporting season. Third Friday count is done, summer school is done. But all those numbers need to be in, that they go on the revenue limit worksheet to get our final, what we can, set for our revenue limit going forward.
October 18th is that? I go to Stevens Point to work with DPI on our revenue limit worksheet. Our student count for the third Friday was 541, 542.
541.
And if you look at your sheet I gave you during my report, you add that up, it won't add up to be the same, because the numbers I gave you included open enrolled in students, and the third Friday count only counts residential students, including those that open enroll out, and 4K students only count as a 0.6 full-time equivalency, so the numbers won't line up. If you say, well, gee, how come we got a 541? And you say there's 597 in the building. Well, it's because open enrollment in, open enrollment out, and FTE of 4Kers, and then summer school picked this up some too. So summer school got a 3 this year, which converts to a 1 because you get 40%. But that's our highest one in 4 years now, and so we hope to continue that trend as well.
Our open enroll numbers, actual students, it's 156 in and 97 out. So for us, we're making money on open enrollment. And then talked to the Gibraltar people who do open enrollment. She said, well, how many do you have? And I told her, she's like, well, I got about 30 each way. And she's like, you got 150? I said, well, at that time I had 171, and just going through the numbers and in and out, that was 156 and 97. So we are by far, of the schools in the district, the most open enrolled in. And that speaks to our staff and our buildings and our board.
So at our annual meeting, are we going to?
What's that?
Are we going to cover enrollment, room enrollment? At our annual
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's that?
Our annual meeting.
Yes, that's part of what we, yeah.
How much money are we getting on the nursing services grant through CISA?
The nursing services,
14,200, something like that.
Yeah, in that area, right. And that's going to pay for, the additional, because we can use that money to pay for the nurse, where we don't have to take it out and we can use what was gonna come out of ESSER funds for something else. So,
Because we're using ESSER funds to have a full-time nurse here for this year and next year, and then we'll probably cut her back to 20 hours like we had pre-COVID.
Facilities.
Are we ever asked the 96 to go out? Are we allowed to ask them why they're?
You can. I did that practice at a previous school, and it was always daycare, where parents work, where they went to school themselves. And when I did it, the principal at the time, this would be a great project for you, Troy. My principal made me call each family and ask them, and I was 6 or 12 principal at the time, and we got none of them to return, and I got a lot of nasty responses about how my school sucked and how theirs was great, and everything else was terrible, and their taxes were too high, and yeah, it was an awful process, yeah. And we got none back. You don't get them when they're in kindergarten, first grade. You're not going to get them unless the other school does something terrible, and then they come here and find out we have rules and procedures too, and the grass is not greener than when it was over there. Yeah.
Generally, once they come in 4K, they stay until they graduate.
Right.
So
you got to hook them young and keep them.
Right.
But yeah, I did it once. It was awful, and I never didn't get anything out of it other than shoot out for hours. Yeah.
I mean, in looking at the numbers for the 4K, we had a number of kids go to Sturgeon Band. Well, and the thing is, Gibraltar just started 4K program this year. So we did not get any of those from down, or most of them stayed up there, and a few of them that live on that end went that way. So our 4K numbers, don't know, but whatever we have with Gibraltar starting theirs, it may fluctuate a little bit more than what it has in the past.
They may hook their kids and keep studying 4K program.
We do count for homeschool students too, I mean, I mean.
They're not part of residential.
I'm kind of.
I mean, but if they're in our district,
they don't count.
They don't count at all.
Well, this will play out, so it doesn't matter. But I'm kind of curious, after this COVID enjoyment, there's some families that are just keeping their kids home, not going to 4K.
I think there's some, because I believe.
And that's still, so they'll get here in kindergarten.
I've seen more of homes,
I was
kids
just
in
a curiosity.
homeschool.
Yeah.
Now, we do have one student that is going virtual because it just was not, it was not working for him being in school. So, and that's an open enrollment student that we lost. But actually we did, well, because he was open enrolled here from somewhere else, so we just, he was not a resident of ours that we're losing.
Well, and in town, they're hiring like crazy, so maybe we'll get some families like this way.
Facilities report.
Building, what about the building? The new lockers are in, they gotta get the trim work for those. There's some heating issues up in like 5th grade, 4th grade. The rooms are too hot or too cold, heat is off and it's still picking up heat. So, and Katrina's working with I don't know what the control system is. Steven, you know what the control system is?
I've seen pictures of it.
It's not Nexus, is it?
No, that's campus.
Then I don't know what it is. But anyways, he's working with that on that. No word on the greenhouse, we just keep using it until someone tells us we can't. Air handler will be a summer project, so I wasn't going to want to work part of the gym for 3 weeks. During the school year, it wasn't a good 3-week window to do that, because they have to tear out the west wall. Because the old air handler, to get it out, is so large, they got to tear the wall out, and they wanted, like, so we could tear out the wall now and put a temporary wall, and I said, no, you're not doing that during our school year. Because they have the parts of the
Is
summer.
the new one smaller and goes through the door? I mean.
Yes, it's smaller. It can
One of
go
those big
through the
glass
door.
ones make stuff
It can
smaller.
go through the door because it's in parts and they can assemble it in the room, but they gotta get the old one out. That's the problem.
I don't know what the code is, but we do that all the time. You walk in and you take this big massive system and it comes out real small. It's real easy when the guys know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, so anyway, so we're waiting till summertime to do that project. And
We got our new bus.
got our new bus that we ordered in December. It was supposed to be here in August. It showed up Tuesday. Is that Trish tomorrow?
I was about to say.
Yeah, right now it's at Tracy
Oh, nice.
Mall, but,
What about there?
In your office.
Shakedown.
Yeah, Tuesday was when I came. Yeah, so it was,
Larry gets some.
Larry gets a new bus, rock lot box, took it to trees, and it has storage underneath, so that's nice.
Nice. Larry gets a new bus, nice. Who's our guy?
Yeah, you got to drive it for one round on
Oh, we've had touch
Tuesday
bars
night,
earlier.
and they took Tracy tomorrow.
We don't have anything to discuss on board goals. We'll have to send a follow-up meeting later. We've got dress code revision.
Yes, we do. And hopefully this will be our last conversation, but we had an awesome opportunity to, Mr. Litke, myself, we had staff members. I know we were talking about waiting until October, but we wanted to expedite this process so we can move forward. And we also, along with the staff, Mr. Litke and myself, we had all of our student officers from each grade level, the president and vice president. Really great dialogue with the students. I thought they really brought up some really interesting points, but they also made some great points in regards to our dress code. And I think so some of the things that students were talking about, which I found to be very interesting, they were talking about the Sevastopol standard versus other schools and where they wanted to rank and how they wanted to be the standard for our students around here. And I thought that was really great, hearing it from other students, talking about the importance of dress, how we're judged by how we dress, how it's a really important thing. These are things that were being said by the students in the room, which is the whole point of the dress code in the beginning, was to set the standard. And so I thought that was really great. And I thought the other interesting thing that the students brought up is the fact that some students really didn't have a problem with the dress code. They had a problem with our consistency of enforcing it and felt that that was an issue. They brought up some items within the dress code that I thought were really great about making sure, because when you talk about a dress code, it's probably one of the most debatable topics in the United States in all areas. And so, you know, and if there was one dress code that worked for all school districts, I think we'd all be using it. The problem is when you talk about being inclusive, you talk about equity, many districts, depending on their populations, adapt and adjust. And so what we wanted to do here at Sevastopol is to create a gold standard, a high standard for our students, but one that was also inclusive and one that where we understood the needs of our students. And so they brought up some really good points. And so I do have 3 proposals that we were going to adjust based off of our time. Before I get to that point, one of the things that was talked about is, you know, what does the word disruptive mean? And we had a really good conversation that disruptive doesn't necessarily mean what a girl wears or what a guy wears specifically. It's certain bodies of clothing. For example, if someone's wearing a vulgar shirt or a shirt with inappropriate language on it, that disrupts the learning environment. So the problem is, because over the tradition of dress code being a sexist document, the immediate, when you see the word disrupt, you think it is focused on one gender or the other. So I think that we have to really be careful. So I think having that conversation with students is really important. So with that, I also wanted to say a majority of our students followed the dress code. From where I thought we were going to have this huge issue, I'm incredibly proud of the students here at Sevastopol that embraced the bar and where it was set, and they stepped up to that, and that was great. Maybe they didn't like it, but I don't like everything that happens in discipline to me either, but we need some things to guide us. And I'm really proud of the teachers that were enforcing it, but the students who stepped up and did what was expected of them instead of the alternative, and which is to be defiant or make a point by breaking the dress code. A majority of our students did not do that, and I think that speaks volumes to the type of students we have here at Sevastopol, which I'm really proud of. It is interesting to me from one other aspect is we've upped our athletic standards, and I never heard one thing about that. I haven't heard anything about that, but Those standards are much higher than they've ever been, but not nothing. We've changed the cell phone, nothing. You know, and we make some tweaks academically, nothing, but we focused on the dress code. So to me, I found that to be interesting. But with that being said, we have 3 changes we're proposing. Number 3, we are changing the shirt to meet or extend past the hips instead of previously the seat of your pants. So the shirt must at least meet your hip or extend past it. Number 8.
Oh, Dave, let me interrupt at number 3. It was very interesting that, you know, so we have 8 officers there, 4 presidents and 4 vice presidents. None of them want to see anyone's midriff, so that was great, yeah. That was really something.
Yeah, it was, like I said earlier too, and that's a great point Kyle made, Mr. Litkey made, but listening to students say what their standards are for themselves, I was really proud of that. Number 8 was for more to be inclusive, but it says no head coverings, and we wanted to change that to no head coverings are allowed except for religious or medical reasons, because those things can happen, and we want to be an inclusive school. And then number 15, the big one, the big one that's changed the lives of so many people. Clothing such as leggings, yoga pants, tights, jeggings, all of those must be worn with a top that at least meets the hip or extends past. And
I'm not even going to ask what jeggings are.
We had a big discussion on where the hip was too. That was pretty interesting.
Yep. So
These are leggings that are jean material.
Leggings that are jeans or jeans.
So, and that was another great question. A student who met with me privately said to me, Mr. Schaefer, what's your issue with leggings? Why don't you like them? What's wrong with them? And I said, there's nothing wrong. I think they're a great garment. When I see people doing athletic movements and they're wearing them, they seem to be appropriate. When I go out shopping, I expect to see that. That's good. The problem is there are many different versions of leggings, and I think maybe Dave, you're talking about we break it down to stitching and how and all that. I didn't want us to go there. The goal of the dress code was to use specific language to make accountability or enforcement much easier. So, but the students, to their credit, brought up some great points about, you know, also with the tops, asking people, because being more fashion forward and understanding how female fashion has changed, finding longer shirts is difficult. And so once again, being all inclusive and putting together any kind of policy or document, we have to be thinking of all students and not just certain groups. And I think by their point of saying that having shirts that meet the hip, I think kind of meets and makes sure that families don't have to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe. And the students who have been wearing leggings, I think, in our school have done a really good job. And it really, if you ask me how many students have I had to talk to about leggings versus inappropriate shirts or those things, it's been minimal compared to inappropriate things on their shirts and stuff like that. But in my head, I thought that number was going to be really high here, and the number of incidences and dress code issues that I've had are very minor. So.
Thank you for engaging the students in this process. I think that's really key, that we engage students when we're affecting things that they care about. We need to engage them.
Thank you. You were the one who recommended it, though. So you can take some credit for that. But
well, that's why I want to thank you for doing that, because I do think that's important. And our kids know. I mean, they can give us a lot of good information.
And I think to build off that, another great thing that I heard was that the students in that meeting felt listened to.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
It wasn't like there was a...
We're not shoving something down their throat.
Nope, it was collaborative.
Part of it, yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you do a
Okay, is there a motion to approve the revised dress code?
So moved.
Let's do it. Second. Okay, further comments or questions?
How do you go to assure that you have even enforcement amongst your staff?
How am I gonna make sure that I have that?
That all the staff are going to enforce it, because there's always going to be somebody who's not going to enforce it, and then starts to fall apart.
Well, that kind of goes with the quote, the culture of our schools dependent on the worst behaviors that we're willing to tolerate, correct?
Correct. I'm not talking about the students now, I'm talking about the staff.
I understand that, I got you. So I think where it comes down to, and I think the important time when we have a lot of the dress code violations, or when I'm being notified of it, Jerry, it's early in the day. So it's, if we have a student and we're being able to track the other classes they're in and things aren't being done, those are opportunities to follow up with staff.
So you'll follow up, so if in the first hour, the teacher didn't say anything, and then the second hour, that teacher said something, he's now the bad guy. The first hour teacher will be the person who said, why didn't you?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call them the bad guy, because how people, what happens is I think sometimes students or teachers, in some cases that, maybe aren't identifying it, they're focusing on their class, they're focusing on greeting, and if I had to be completely transparent, early in the year, I had a student who I met with in the hallway 4 times, and I didn't realize she was even violating the dress code until the 5th time, and I had a conversation. So I think that happens, but I think I'm the one that's responsible for the accountability of it.
Maybe I should just say, so after the 5th time that the same instructor looks the other way with a dress code violation, something to say.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
And maybe if someone in second hour turns someone in, sure, I'll probably go talk to the first hour teacher, well, what'd you see? And these kids sometimes go to their lockers, go to the locker room, change their stuff, and they might not be wearing what they wore earlier, but they'll follow up, and yeah, we'll always have a weak link here and there, because that's how it works with students.
I mean, dress codes are really based upon enforcement at all the levels.
And that's what the kids brought up. The kids said, we want the staff to be consistent with this too. So try to encourage the students and they'll work on it. And it's going to be an ongoing process, because some people never turn anyone in and others write tickets all day. Just like some police officers do, right? We write tickets.
So we've got a motion. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We don't have anything agenda under legislation. We have the resignation of the boys middle school basketball coach. Is there a motion to accept?
Move to accept the resignation of the assistant middle school boys basketball coach out of
Second. Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resignation of the boys varsity baseball coach. Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the resignation of Tom Ash as the head boys baseball coach.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. FMLA time off for Andy Simons.
So I think the meeting in October.
Move to approve the requested time off FMLA for Andy Simons.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we have 2 early graduation requests. Does anyone have questions?
Well, do we have one at a time?
Yes. Yes, you gotta do one at a time.
I do have a question with Jacob.
I do too.
But I would move to approve Emma Olson's early graduation request.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, Emma. Thank you. Okay, then move to the next one.
Go ahead.
I, sitting here with this group, when I read the report, I guess I'm concerned that the parents don't have a consistent position on it. And I don't know that the school board should be in the middle of that. Am I misinterpreting? That's how I read it. And number 2, one more thing. I did not see a plan to satisfy the requirement.
That was my concern.
He does have a plan to get the English required through the PASS program. Mr. Horvat's working with him on that. Mr. Horvat had a concern with his reading level, but then Mrs. Ludman tested him here, and he tested at a higher level than what we thought he would come in with. So we're comfortable with his reading level. I'd rather not comment on his home life here in public, but because my question was, what are you going to do after high school? And he has an idea what he wants to do. because I recommend the NWTC, and he won't enroll in the NWTC because he doesn't want to live in the state of Wisconsin when he graduates. He's from Illinois through his sophomore year, and then he moved to Porterville his junior year and had a not so great experience there. And so now he's here, and I think it's in his best interest to be finished here as soon as possible and then land, hopefully in Illinois, in a residence with one of his parents. That's unknown, and he doesn't know.
And as all our students leave this great school, where they end up is kind of up to their journey. But what I didn't see in the plan was a path to satisfy the state of Wisconsin requirements. And what you're telling me, there is a plan.
And if he doesn't make it, same thing with Emma. If she doesn't cut it this semester, she's got to come back second semester. Yeah, so the same thing will happen with Jake.
There's a plan in place, and you're aware of it.
Yes, and just small plans that we do.
Yeah, we just met with the family today formally. There is, I can tell you through that meeting that both parents are in agreement and support what he is proposing.
Well, and
there is that, and there is a plan to look at NWTC. It's just which program. Now, of course, he can change, like we all do, many times, but they're definitely from the meeting that Mr. Schaefer and I were in with Mr. Horvat, with the student and the family. There is support for what he wants to do and consistency. And I'd like to definitely say that Ms. Ludman and Mr. Horvat made sure that he was ready and able to do that through meeting specific goals in order to move forward with this plan.
Then I would move to approve the early graduation request for Jacob Stalber.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The overnight girls basketball trip.
Sure, our basketball coaches, that's something powerful.
Yeah. Do you have time for that?
Yeah. All right.
You want me to talk about
Is this considered your first retirement then? Is that what we're going to call it?
It's like he's attending his own funeral. I'm Coach Riccola, girls basketball head coach. We're seeking approval for an overnight trip to actually my hometown, Mellon, Wisconsin. Many of you know my wife Beth. She works here at school in her 21st year. And we are husband and wife team for the girls basketball program. So I could start in a lot of places, I think, for this, but basically we're requesting to go north to that little spot right there. Yeah, if you've ever heard of it, that's my wife's hometown and my hometown. We're high school sweethearts. And we moved to Door County 21 years ago, and we're requesting to go back there for a girls' trip. How this happened, there's my hometown, there's the school. We had our 100th anniversary in 2010, actually, but what a weird mascot there, home of the granite diggers. We have old granite quarries in Mellon that are kind of historic. So anyways, just long story short, if you know my wife, she's a doer. Like, she's not afraid to work really hard and do lots of things. And she got an idea about a year ago, and it came from seeing Paula Simon's bench that Brooke Tank's brother Cody Leist made. And then, long story short, that's, our hometown was a pretty neat place to grow up in because the community was very close and tight-knit. And part of that is because of the success of the sports teams. This team went to, well, maybe not this team, I think it was this team went to state, and so that connected these girls. And long story short, one of these girls died, one of Beth's teammates died recently. And that's actually her teammate's dad. He's a longtime coach in Mellon. And so his story is that he was in a motorcycle accident while he was varsity boys basketball coach. He became a paraplegic. And the family, that really stressed out the family. They got divorced. Beth's friend Tara, who also passed away, essentially became mother of her younger siblings at that moment. And these are just like rock solid Mellon people that meant a lot to the community. Mark even coached my high school. He was a JV coach, and clearly you can see after his accident. So this would be the Newtonen Memorial Bench at Mellon. Beth raised approximately $4,000 to do this. Cody Weiss is going to carve the bench. One thing led to another, and after Mellon approved this, the school board superintendent approved this, they have a spot picked out for the bench. Lots of people are excited for this thing to happen. They wanted to dedicate it at the game, and one thing led to the next, and it seemed natural that maybe it would be a Sevastopol at Mellon game. So I don't know if you guys got this at all in your board packet or not.
Yeah, we
You didn't see that, okay. And so, basically we'd be heading up there. There's just a little bit of donations. You can see probably we're up to like 40 donations. And what this would mean is a January 20th, 21st weekend trip. We're actually doing a 2-for-1, trying to play Whitby on Friday and then Mellon on Saturday. And maybe you could speak about our lodging a little bit. You've got a connection through Walbeck Group with the...
Yeah, so my company has a large cabin. It can house up to 24 people. And that is a benefit of their employees that they let us use their cabin. So the company was gracious enough to let our basketball team spend the weekend there to be able to play these games for free, basically.
I was hoping that this would work out to be the weekend of Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, because that Monday was in service, so they have a 3-day travel. They tried to arrange games that weekend, but our girls' team is scheduled to play O'Connell that Saturday night. O'Connell is a conference game, and O'Connell would not break a conference game to allow our team to do a non-conference game. Mellon area had the same issue, so they found going Whitby along the way. That was one of my concerns, is how much time to go out for school and how far it is. You're going to take 2 vans, and these guys will end up taking their own personal vehicles as well, because they won't be able to fit all the drills and equipment and the bags for the weekend to go. So I was hoping it could be over Christmas break or Thanksgiving, but those dates didn't work. So they came up with this weekend here.
Why do they have to take, one of my concerns is, why do they have to take vans? Because you know how those vans are in the winter on the roads.
Well,
They'd be much safer in a school bus. Do we not have a bus driver? Do we not have a bus?
we haven't asked the bus driver if they're willing to go on a weekend in January. You'd have to pay the driver, the bus driver every hour, except for their sleep time. That's in the contract. So yes, if we took a bus, they leave on Friday, and then that driver's got to stay with the team on Friday and Saturday. In the winter, it's what, 40 minutes, 50 minutes from Mellon or something, right?
Did I say that the cabin is in winter, so it works out nice that Owen Whitby is kind of close to winter. We could continue on, stay there. And Mellon's another 45 minutes north of the next thing.
I was hoping to use the 3-day weekend and play both games up at Mellon and do it there and come, but we can't work that out. So yeah, you take 2 vans, you take 1 bus, and then you gotta have a bus driver. And then the bus driver's gotta stay with the team for the whole weekend too.
How long does it take somebody to get their commercial license?
I don't
Well,
know.
for discuss, I mean, I think it'd be nice to say the bus is an option if we can find a solution, but if not.
I understand that it's being costed. It's just, all those,
A bus gets about 10 miles to the gallon compared to 2 vans. Well, yeah.
I know that, I just think
I know, it's
all those
better
people
for
in that
2 ball
event
games,
is,
right. But what Ben's trying to highlight is the importance to the connections the Rigolas have with Mellon in the past history here.
I think they've done a lot of extra work on this to get this to work, and I certainly would congratulate them on, taking the effort and initiative to try to arrange something like this. I mean, for a basketball team to move out of their area, get into a different area, play different teams, I think is really a benefit for them. And also to stay at a cabin. I'm guessing not primitive cabin, but
It's not high class by any means, but it's
suffice.
Probably has indoor
it's a
plumbing.
nice home. It's got indoor plumbing, it's got heat. It's not
Right.
like you're going to the outhouse every night, but yeah, I mean, it's secluded. It's on the, I don't know what river that it is. Flambeau River.
If you use 2 vans, are all of the costs covered then?
I think it would be probably a tank of gas each way for each van, and maybe about $300.
Just asking what the cost of the district would be.
I think $300. I think our food would be paid for. My parents are going to treat us for pregame there on Saturday. So the house is free. The food, we're going to have, like volleyball did, the parents kind of pulled some stuff together for some of the meals. So I think it's $300 if we take the vans.
And the superintendent, you're recommending?
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but yes, I'm recommending we do it, and.
Move to approve the overnight trip request for the girls' basketball team.
Okay, well, one more thing, Dave, though. If the weather's poor, I want the ability to pull the plug on the trip, okay?
Well, and I assume all the safety things would apply.
Okay, well, I just want to make it clear, yeah.
Well, I mean, do we have to define what the weather conditions need to be then?
Well, I'm gonna watch the weather from here to Mellon and back again.
No, I agree, but I mean.
Like I do on snow
Just
days.
Kyle's judgment.
No, I
Just
just,
like on snow days. Yeah.
because
I'm
when
not
I
trying
take
to-
off on a trip, I would make a different decision than if my wife took off on a trip. That's my.
I'll use the same I do for schools or snow days around here.
Okay, so there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Do you gentlemen have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Are there any other questions from board members? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we'll see what the world is like. It's not surrounded by water. That's very soon. We're going to see what the world is like, but it's not always surrounded by water. Get them off the island.
We have a motion on the 8510 wellness second reading of that policy.
Move to approve the second reading of revised policy, 8510 wellness.
Second. Questions or discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. And then we have the second reading of the new policy, 6325.
Move to approve the second reading of policy 6325, procurement federal grant/funds.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then the committee met and recommends approval of these policies that are listed. Their motion to
We say as listed. Move to approve the policy committee recommendations of revised policies as submitted.
Second.
questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then we have a time off request for Debbie Hurst.
Deborah has a niece getting married in California, and she wants to miss 4 school days. Was it Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? She has received 2 personal days, so she'd like to use 2 personal days and 2 unpaid days for the trip to California. Past practice has been the board approves it. I put a letter in file at one time event. I told her, I informed her of that because I didn't know how many nephews and nieces she has and how many times you may end up at a wedding or something, you know. If you got one niece out in California, you may have more than one. So she's aware of that, but she'd like to do this one time. What?
Usually like.
Well, that just trying to be heads up.
This is a new practice.
No, it was in this.
I made a motion to approve this.
I'll second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That concludes our regular business. I'll take a motion to convene to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Jeff?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried at 8:46 p.m. Then we'll look for a motion on the assistant boys basketball coach.
I would move to approve Mark Carroll as the middle school assistant boys basketball coach.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And a motion on the post-employment benefit.
I would move to approve the post-employment benefit insurance for Shelley Ortherberg, who was caught in the change here and should be grandparented into the program.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We have our regular school board meeting on October 26th. The annual meeting is on October 25th. And did we want to schedule a follow-up meeting for the goals session sometime in October, push to November? What do you want to do?
Either way, we should look at the calendar now.
We have 2 meetings in October.
November, the regular meeting will be on the 16th.
No.
The third Wednesday of the month,
Oh,
correct?
okay.
That's like almost as early as it can be.
I will not be here on the 16th.
Are you at CISA?
No.
Because I say, I think CISA 7 is coming here that night.
We're talking December?
November.
Come in, come.
We did that last meeting on Monday. Is that a good night for everybody?
Sure.
Do we want to do it on a Wednesday night instead? Because we're going to be in the middle of basketball or something.
Right, yeah, actually.
Are we
What
talking the
does your calendar
16th?
look like, Mr. Whitby?
Mondays or Wednesdays are pretty open right now. I haven't looked at boys basketball yet, but it doesn't matter. I don't go to road games, so. My son's playing that good, probably next to basketball, but I don't go to road games. He's basketball. We play hockey. I'll go to Sturgeon Bay. I'm not going to Common to watch
Well,
basketball.
you can watch on Halloween.
Oh,
Watch
yeah.
on NFHS.
Okay.
Well, do you want to go Wednesday, November 9th?
Does the 9th work for people?
It does not work for me either, but that's okay.
What about this Monday the 7th?
No, I'm gone for about 12 days.
Oh, okay. All right. Does the 9th work?
Sure.
I think so.
Same thing, 6 to 8
I'm
p.m.?
entering a phase where I may travel, but we'll deal with that.
I
9?
leave in the morning, but yeah, it's fine.
6 to 8, you want a 2-hour window again?
I think 2 hours would be enough to do. Does that work for a majority?
Me?
As far as I
Okay, so
know,
then we'll go Wednesday, November 9th at 6. And if there's nothing else, we will look for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried at 8:59 p.m.